3 signs that you're going to be successful in life. This is the video for you. And this is why you need to sign up and subscribe, because I'm going to push these ideas into your head. I'm just going to cram them in there. Get in there, you bastard. You trying to put in a fucking pillowcase into the pillow? That's me. I'm the guy putting it in the brain. Your brain is the pillow, all right? And so you're going to come onto my show as well. I'm going to be doing a charity show at Melbourne to help out the floods. Half price for all those cheapskates out there. And it's going to be filmed as well. So you are basically just going to sit there and you're going to be a pretend, fake laughing studio audience just like they had on Seinfeld, all right? Because it's my time to shine. It's my special moment, and you're just going to be a prop in it. And make sure that you come out and you'll probably have a good time as well. And, if you do, that's just a byproduct of it. What can I say? I'm just that magnanimous. So make sure that you come to that. Make sure that you come to any of the other shows, links below. But let's get into this, because this, I think, is probably one of the most inspirational stories that I've ever heard in my life, and it is from Tom Brady. Hey, to that one American subscriber that I have, do you know who Tom Brady is? Because this is incredible about this. I'm just talking to this one guy now. Everybody else, you just pay attention. You're the audience now. This is practice for my show. I like Tom Brady a lot. And the reason is because I just read his new book. Some of his new book. But this is something that's incredible, Mr. American Man. Captain America, if I will. All of us, I bet you, everybody here, comment below if you didn't know who Tom Brady is. We don't have NFL in Australia. We have some American weebs that go and watch it in a dive bar. They watch the finals and pretend that they were watching it the entire, I don't know what it's called, season or something like that, yeah? But it's just not a thing in Australia. We've got enough codes as it is. Thank you very much. It's confusing enough. And so we don't need NFL, especially because take your helmets off, you wusses, and just headbutt each other like real men do. But the other thing that is incredible is because we don't watch it at all, we do know who Tom Brady is, and I just figured out why. Because it's just he is so good at what he does that his name has just permeated into our minds despite knowing absolutely nothing about the sport. Isn't that phenomenal? Yes, it is. Just go with me here. I'm going to be directing your mind from now on. I'm in charge, and I bet you a lot of you are out there just being like, finally, I don't have to be responsible for my own problems in life. You love it, don't you? So that's me, director here. And yeah, with this Tom Brady stuff, listen to this, okay? There is a reason that you know who he is, and it's because he is the Michael Jordan of his sport. I did not know this. Let's just start with this. When he was going for universities, I think there was only 1 or 2 in the country that took him up as a sports player for their college football. And there was only one that was offering a scholarship. Not many people were interested in Tom Brady. The reason that he was accepted into this one with full scholarship is not because of the coach, not because of the assistant coach. It is because the sports psychologist watched his video and thought, that's the horse to bet on. What does that tell you about this man? It was the sports psychologist, the coach, and the assistant coach who were building up the team. They weren't interested in individual players. They weren't interested in how much potential they have for growth. What they're interested in, obviously, is just being a winning team, and he just didn't have what it takes. But this guy was saying, no, that guy can rapidly expand. You know what he saw in Tom Brady that the other ones didn't see? Natural intelligence, obviously. If you read his book, you can tell that he's a very, very smart man. But they also saw, and this is the number one thing that I want you to write down now. He saw failure as the success. He saw that he was out there and he was trying and he failed. It was, first off, it's painful to the nervous system, no matter how many times you fail. That's why most people never want to do it. But he did it and he loved it, and that's what that sports psychologist saw, is that he is willing to fail over and over again because he knows that he's training his nervous system every time to just get that marginal little piece better. That is the first sign that you are going somewhere in life. That is the first sign. This is so phenomenal about this guy, because after this, did you know that he's like 45 or something and he's still playing professional major league sports, if that's what it is? I think it's baseball. Anyway, don't correct me, Mr. America. You've been demoted from Captain America just for imaginarily disagreeing with me. And that's what's happened to him. He's still playing. I think he's played like 20 seasons or something like that of a sport that, look at it, even though you have the helmet or whatever, wouldn't you just turn into strawberry jam at that point? He's just getting mushed so many times. I know the quarterback's in the back. Yeah, I know the absolute basics of it. He's still getting tackled all the time. He's still in constant pain. Did you know this about professional athletes? They are in constant pain all the time. It's because they don't give themselves time to recover from their injuries, and then immediately, because it's their livelihood, get back on the field there, Jim. And then they have to sit there and do their 2 hours of intense weights every day, and then they have to go out and do cardio on all of these damaged bodies. And so what really happens by the time they're 30, this is what he was explaining to me in his book that I didn't realize. It's not that your body can't do these things at 45. It's that most athletes, by that time, it's not because they've just like peaked at 28 in terms of their physical ability. No, it's not that. It's that their bodies have been ripped to shreds. They just have so many injuries on injuries that they just... And these guys, I never realized, these big, hefty dudes. They're in constant pain, all of them, all the time, except Tom Brady. He's 45, like 15 years older than like the next oldest guy there. And he's still just passionate right down the end zone every time. There is a reason that he's still there, and it is... And this is the thing that is most inspirational about this man. This is what you need to know, which is the second most important principle, which is you have to believe that belief is everything. Once you get that into your head, that your reality is determined by your beliefs, you can do phenomenal things like Tom Brady. Think about this. His physiology is not designed for NFL. They were writing that in the notes. He was originally supposed to be some guy that was sitting on the back bench, got one season, then you go. He was just learning at an exponentially faster rate than the rest of the dunderheads that are usually into NFL. He was, for some reason, abnormally intelligent, and so he was able to make all of these new distinctions on the field. He was able to figure out what his weak points were and how to improve on those weak points, to the point that he's just still, to this day, a freak. An absolute freak. But he started with a body that was not conducive for playing NFL. And now he's the greatest player of all time. You can do the same thing in your field. When people are always saying that there's going to be people that have natural advantages to you in life, that's definitely true. But you can be like Tom Brady. You can improve so much that you leave the people that are good at it naturally in the dust. They also have something that you don't have. If you have that exponential growth mentality, there was a study about this recently where they showed people that were getting all of these failures in life, people that had this growth mindset, that failure equals growth, they got happier as a result of failure. Wouldn't you want to be one of those people? This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying beliefs. It's not even this thing of like, you can achieve anything. This is getting incrementally into every one of your beliefs and slowly turning them in your head. So the reality in your situation is like, right? So most people continue with failure because it's just natural to think that. Pain. They mostly think if I fail, I have pain. So what do? They don't try at all in life. If you link failure to growth, what do you start getting? Even in the pain, you start getting pleasure. You could be doing this even when you're going to dental surgery. Yeah? Like people are always saying the root canal surgeries hurt. You can take somebody who actually, like, when they get it, they just start feeling sexual pleasure, being like, they just start feeling like, yeah, I'm just going to start thinking about chicks lezzing out. And you're like, You can do that. And then the other one is, like, I tried it the other day. You know when I tore my hip ligament? Never had anything more painful in my life than that. That was... I felt like it was a piece of paper. It was just like, yeah, I was a paper man. I was one of those paper men. That's what happened. Someone ripped off my little leg, my little gingerbread man leg, right? And so I was just hobbling around like that. It was excruciating. And then I remembered that piece. And you know what started happening? It was demonic, but I was walking around on it going like, is that all you got? Yeah. Like, even though it was still painful, you were enjoying it. You can switch these things around. And it is because of, this is why you need to sign up to this channel, by the way. That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about switching these individual beliefs in your head, which is exactly what Tom Brady did. He was switching all of these beliefs in his head. As a result of switching all of these beliefs in his head, he started thinking that these things were possible on these individual macro levels of his specific, very specialized field, and that's why he is undisputably the greatest player of all time. Now, I bet you there's going to be some smart ass there just being like, actually, if you go back to 1937, well, I don't want to. That's my reality, and I'm sticking to it because it's just easier for me to do. And so, yeah, the next one that I think is really, really, really important is that most people in life compare themselves, this is a trip. Most people in their lives compare themselves to the worst elements in their life. Why? Because it makes them feel better in the moment. That's why people like listening to other people's goss. Every time someone has tea or drama online, they think about how many tea channels there are. This is just a bunch of women sitting around, listening to people bitching about other people that they don't know, and it is cathartic. There is a reason that they're doing it, because they're just like, well, their life's shitter than mine. It's just classic Greek drama. That is what Greek drama was based off. Can you imagine the abysmal life of being a pleb in ancient Greece? I was just thinking about it then, just being like, damn, that would suck. Yeah, well, anyway, it would not be good, would it? I would much rather be a pleb living in anywhere except Armidale and Perth. That sounds worse. But everywhere else, still pretty bad. Pretty damn bad by today's comparison. What gave them that emotional alleviation? It was Greek tragedies. Greek tragedies were designed to make that person's imaginary life far worse than anyone could comprehend then. So then they sat there and then they intermittently watched and be like, well, it beats having all my teeth rotting at the age of 13. So that's what was happening there, right? And that is the natural propensity of people. And I think that that is a surefire way to failure in life. A surefire way to failure is to be comparing these things, because it gives you this immediate psychic alleviation. It is the same as, just a moment on the lips, lifetime on the hips, just eating chocolate, and chocolate making you feel good for the second, and then you become a diabetic. That's right. Fact. And so that's what's happening there. That is the same thing. It is that psychic alleviation. When you start comparing yourself to people that are worse than you, what does that say to your head? It says, I don't need to try any better in life. In fact, I've got far more to slide before I hit that train wreck. And so you do. That's what starts happening. You start falling to meet the standards of those people, because your mind starts thinking that's acceptable in life. That is all that your brain ever does. All your brain ever does is reach for acceptability. This is something that I'm internally grateful for in my childhood. I'm not grateful for much, but there was one point where my dad, when I started living with him instead, and he was not a rich man, poor our whole lives, but because we had this really nice landlord. I've told this story before. We had this really nice landlord that just gave us a house out of charity, I think, really. Like, looking back at it, I think he just felt sorry for us. I don't know. And so he was just charging us way under market value. So much so that the reason that we actually moved in there is because it was cheaper than the houses in shit areas. Just dumb luck. Absolute dumb luck. Why I'm eternally grateful for it is that I was always walking around in this rich suburb looking at these $20 million mansions and thinking, not good enough. I am a worm. This is when you start noticing that you're moving into success, I think. It's just that permanent dissatisfaction, this thing of just like, no, there's so much more for me to do. There's so much more for me to expand and move into, as opposed to just sitting there and being complacent. What would have happened if I went to one of those poor suburbs? I can guarantee you, the environment around you, write this down, the environment will kick the ass out of your habits every time. If I was walking around and everybody else had Darrow houses that I was embarrassed of walking into and just like quickly shuffle into because it was just worse than everybody else's, just like seeing a neighbor being like, he lives there. Oh, that's what you're at least imagining is happening. In other words, it's just, usually they're sitting there just being like, fuck, how do I pay off this mortgage? That's what you realize. But anyway, yeah. If I was there, what do you think would have happened to my brain? Oh, yeah, everybody has two cars with no wheels out the front of their house, don't they? And they just get their dog from fucking their neighbour that just had a litter of pit bulls. Shut up, Rex. Fuck, what's biting me? Fuck. Now, because I've just been living around them, I think like, yeah, the only acceptable dogs are the sausage dogs and French bulldogs, right? And, what happened? I, by osmosis, I think just by living in that area, being around those people that shared with me their beliefs, their values, their ideas, what was happening to my brain. I will never, ever, ever be able to repay my next door neighbor who said, I read for an hour a day. As is discussed in Atomic Habits, that is the key habit out of everything. He was just like, I read for an hour a day. And I was like, well, you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So I thought, all right, well, I'm going to start doing that then. It is phenomenal how much money you get from doing that one simple thing of just like, you know what? Emily in Paris isn't as good as hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So those are the 3 beliefs that I want you to have in your head. Let's just do a quick recap and then we'll end this video. The first one is that you see failure as the victory. Write it down. Number 1, failure is the victory. The second one that I want you to have in your head is that beliefs are your reality. Beliefs are your reality. Write it down. And then the third one that I want you to write down is environment kicks the ass out of your habits every day. This whole channel is about habits. It's always just about instilling them. They're extremely important, obviously. But guess what shapes those habits? Environment. Even when it comes to something like cigarettes, what's the main piece of advice that everybody always gives you? Don't buy a pack, so it's not in the house. And if you do have a pack of cigarettes, make it hard for you to access. Make it up the attic of your house. Make it behind a bin, somewhere scummy. So you go there and then you're just like, I feel like shit. So at least starts reducing how much you start smoking cigarettes. Anyway, this is all done. Make sure that you sign up to Jordan Shanks, because if you want those habits instilled into you, I'm becoming part of your environment, baby. That's right. You know what else is part of your environment? Just like your pot plant. Me. You're going to get used to this minty jacket. As somebody said, the Albanian minty jacket. Ooh, what a burn. Warmer than this jacket is. And so I want you to sign up to Jordan Shanks because I want those habits in you. The reason I want those habits in you, this is a selfish reason, I want you to become your best self. And the reason that I want you to become your best self is because it will benefit society exponentially if you do. You owe yourself that. You owe yourself, instead of spending that money on crap that is going to make you worse, I'm going to build you, like the little piece of clay that you are, into one of those little muscle men that turns into one of those giant monsters that nearly kills the Power Rangers and then doesn't. And then I'm going to make more monsters and try and kill them all. Jesus, I am just that queen with the long hair at Power Rangers being like, no, my plans. Anyway, that's me. Make sure that you support me in my quest. Come see my Melbourne show.